So with module 29, we're able to get a new belt item, and it's actually pretty unique. It's not just going to deal damage like we've had with a ton of previous ones, but give survivability. And this comes from the Blazing Soul pack, which is actually cheaper than what they normally had these packs at. In previous modules, it was like 3000 Zen base cost. Herein, you obtain the Blazing Aegis gadget, and that is what I want to have a look at and test out. It claims to be able to give you a 10% maximum hit point shield that lasts 10 seconds, and then give you the benefit of reflecting some damage back and having like one charge, whatever that means. We'll have a look. But for the price of 1600 Zen, you also get a title, the Blazing Soul, and then an enchantment, an epic amolite, and 10 scrolls of life. Now this enchantment is one of the new ones. You can obtain multiple others of them from the Mountain of Flame campaign store just here, as long as you get enough campaign progress and currency. And people are already selling those on the auction house. But since you get it from this pack, you can also sell it already on Epic. And people are doing so. As you can see, the Epic ones are like 740,000. With then the green ones being 470,000 for whatever reason. They should be cheaper, but over time I guess they will, because for now people have to actually grind the currency in order to obtain them, and they do cost you 50,000 natural diamonds. But let's jump back to the new belt item, the Blazing Aegis. Again, it is entirely new. We've not seen its like before, and I am very interested in what the cooldown is on this thing. The additional effect is just increasing the campaign currency you gain throughout the zone of 15%. So very good if you have it on a character that you'll actually farm with it. As for the flavor text, it infuses yourself with fire, preventing damage and reciprocating with a single blazing burst. But let's get our hands on this and check it out. I'm not going to spend the Zen for it now. A special thanks to JC for sending me one on the preview test server, and here we have it. Again, you'll obtain it unbound, which means you can sell it if you wish, potentially buying some of these and selling them later down the road. You can see there's only 3 on the auction house. And if this turns out to be as good as it says on the tooltip, it may very well be best in slot for survivability and particularly tanks. So we'll go and we'll equip it right there, and we can see it is now bound to our character. That is annoying. I would prefer to be bound to my account, and then you could at least move it via the shared bank, but alas. Otherwise, it does not seem to have any special appearance. So we will go and cast it here. There we go. It has some like audio effect. It gives us this very cool visuals around us, and indeed 10% of our maximum hit points as this shield, which lasted, I believe, 10 seconds and now is gone. The cooldown seems to be just 30 seconds. This is definitely a powerful item. You're going to be able to use it quite often, at least for every tank buster that you may need or every mitigation check, and then have that extra layer of protection. We'll use it here again. There you go. It has that audio effect, and you get these shields rotating around you with very nice visuals. You can clearly see you have the effect. But we've got to check out, how does the damaging effect work? Does the shield drop off even if you take a little hit? And is that really going to deal 10% of our maximum hit points back to our attacker? But even just with this shield alone, it is super powerful. Being able to give yourself a 10% maximum hit point shield at will is just huge. You can use that before you're going to take a big hit and gain that extra survivability. If we want to check quickly, does it stack with, say, other shields? We can see we use a shield here from Divine Shelter on the Paladin. And so, yeah, our shield's like this size. We'll cast the belt item, and we can indeed see it stacks. So yeah, it's going to give you this shield no matter what other shield you already have. That is great. Meaning it is a true 10% increase basically to your maximum hit points. And it's not actually increasing your hit points, it's just giving you the shield. If it was increasing your hit points, it would be even more powerful, because as a tank, it would increase your block. But alas, it's just going to be a shield. But still, there is no other belt item that can give that much effect for survivability. The only other one I know of is, say, a Wondrous Dragon, which could give you 6% extra damage resistance versus dragons. But again, that's a enemy specific item. This is going to work against everybody. That is great. But keep in mind, since they've released one now, they may very well release others in the future. So it's up to you. Just look for yourself. Do you feel you might need this and benefit from this item now, or can you survive without it? If you can survive without it, then you can just maybe buy it and hoard it and don't equip it and sell it down the road if you feel you end up not needing it ever. But if some tougher content comes along and you want a bit of an edge in survivability, then go ahead and equip it and use it. It's super good. Like, you could gain that extra hit points for every single tank buster you have to take. Going in here now, like the training room, we can see this dummy is going to attack us. We can check our maximum hit points, 1.42 million. So 10% of that will be 142,000. We give ourselves the shield. We let the dummy hit us. And you can see it reflected the damage of 58,000, but that's a deflect. So ultimately it is going to be 10% of your maximum hit points reflected back, but that is going to be mitigated by enemies' defense and mitigated by enemies' deflects. So it is still really good. Like, 58,000 damage there. If you multiply it by our threat modifiers, for example, we have 1,500% from Justicar's charge, and then we would get like another 500% from intimidating presence. We're at 2,000 multiplied by this is equal to over 1.1 million damage in threat, just from this little damage item, which again is also going to give us survivability through the shield. And then you can see we get hit. That shield is going to remain for the full 10 seconds. But just on that first hit you take, it's going to deal that 10% maximum damage hit attack. And fully buffed up, tanks are looking at like nearly 2 million hit points. This is me just standing here without the ghosted buff, without buff food, without being a team of VIP. So if we look at the damage hit of this thing again, 10% of our max HP, I don't think it can critically hit at all. It doesn't really make sense for this kind of item. But if it doesn't deflect, it's going to deal like 94,000, which is like 66% of what it says. But if you do lower the enemy's defense, put debuffs, this will result in a ton more damage. For example, we have an artifact call. We'll simulate it with the buffer artifact. Cast this little thing and then we get hit. And you can see like 169,000. And that is again even just a deflect. So you can increase its effect through like artifact calls. And other belt items, if you were to just use them for threat, say the Dragonfire, and we have these kind of awful offense stats because we're a tank, we cast it and we can like add up the total that this would deal. And we can see that was only like 73,000. Therefore, versus the Dragonfire, this new belt item has better threat. So it's basically a great threat item for a tank with a great survivability effect. And then if you're just a damage dealer, you will deal a little bit of damage with that. You're going to have less hit points, so that's not really going to be relevant, and you might not even get hit while having the shield. But just having that extra shield, that extra hit points, will allow you to tank a hit better. So let's say you're going to have a mitigation check, say Zariel, Tar the Mad Mage, even some of the dungeons have mitigation checks. You could pop this before you're going to get hit, and then potentially survive a hit you might otherwise not, especially if running with a healer who's not going to be able to shield you. Overall, I think it's a super good item. It's very useful, especially for tanks. One thing though is you cannot stack them, so we cannot have other belt items with it. It's going to take the place of, say, Owlbear, Dragonfire, Wondrous Dragon. None of these other damage items are going to be able to be used adjacent to it. So you're choosing either or. And as a tank, absolutely take this one if you can afford it. It's very good. It's going to help with survivability, going to help with your threat in boss fights, and just overall, Hands down the best in slot belt item we have right now for tanks. Additionally, you'll gain a boost to currency you earn in the new zone. If you're just a hardcore damage dealer, I wouldn't really worry about it. It's not gonna deal damage that you want. You'll be missing out on the damage from Owlbear and Dragonfire, which is going to be like 3 to 4% of your overall damage. This is never going to compete with that. And as a healer, it's kind of whatever. You generally don't need extra survivability. You're already more tanky than damage dealers you have to protect. And again, damage is irrelevant for you, so that other effect doesn't matter. But again, super good. 30-second cooldown, and just giving you that 10% max hit point shield with the ability to deal 10% of your maximum hit points back to the attacker when you receive a hit. So thanks for watching. A special thank you to all of these channel members, and I'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.